Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ali Manning and my channel is Vintage Page Designs, and we talk all about handmade books right here. And I am very excited to introduce to you a member of the Handmade Book Club, Ricki Golick, who lives in Edmonton, Alberta, which she refers to as the true north. And she is going to talk to us today about her creative journey. And I think you're in for a treat. So grab a cup of coffee and get comfortable. Ricki is an internationally recognized and award-winning fiber artist. But prior to retirement, she was actually a senior vice president and treasurer of a Canadian bank. Her passions include quilting, mixed media, art, bookbinding, creative book artists, and her fiber art has been shown nationally and internationally in museums. Her artist books and fiber art have been featured in magazines such as Cloth, Paper, Scissors and Quilted Arts. And if that wasn't enough, she's also a musician and she plays the piano and the harp. And it is my very great pleasure to bring on screen Ricki Golick. How are you, my dear?
How are you? You look grand today.
Oh, thank you. Well, so do you. So before we came on, we were just talking about what Ricki was wearing because the other two times that Ricki and I have kind of talked like this, she has been wearing something special. So do you want to just tell us what you created today?
So I have created my own shirts every time I talk to Ali. And yesterday I was thinking, oh, I'm talking to Ali and I haven't made a new shirt. So since I knew we were going to talk about creativity, I made a shirt all with creative quotes. So, for example, running down the top here, it says, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. And that is such a key quote. I believe creativity is a muscle. Like you've got to exercise it every day. You can't let it go, because if you let it go, you start getting scared. But if you do a little bit every day, then it's wonderful. And that's Maya Angelou. And I have one with I like this one. This is Madonna. She says, "I am my own work of art."
Oh, can you hold it up so we can see?
This is on the sleeve, and it says, "I am my own work of art. I am my own experiment." And that's true too. Like we create ourselves, and if we say we're an artist, we're an artist.
Yes, we are. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we are our own work of art.
Yeah.
I have other ones. One that says at the bottom, I don't know if I can bring it up here, but over there.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah.
It says, make visible that without you might perhaps never be seen.
Oh, nice.
So I took all these quotes about creativity that could inspire me as I'm making my art. And it's going to be a white shirt that I paint in. Eventually, it'll be covered with paint.
Yeah.
So this shirt will be a work of art eventually.
Oh, I love it. And it was just a man's shirt, women's shirt you just took off?
Yeah, I just had it in my cupboard. Actually, my daughter pulled it out and said, "Mom, this looks good. I'd love to have this one." And I'd say, no,
that's mine.
I'm going to make it into something.
How did you get the text on there?
With a Posca pen.
No.
I actually called my fabric store, my art store, and I said, I need some fabric pens. And they said, well, Posca will do on fabric. I said, you are kidding me. Yeah, so all you have to do is heat set it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I used Posca pens, the white and the black is Posca. And I used Micron for the stripes.
Nice.
And I put everything on like this is a patch.
Yeah.
In case I want to change it later, because
of course you might want
to. I'm notorious for that.
Well, I feel honored that you've created a wearable work of art for this conversation. So thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
So why don't you? I know that you have many creative interests and outlets, but where did that all start? Were you creative as a kid, and then throughout, your growing up years, or did it just start as an adult?
No, I liked to draw as a kid. I took lessons, but I can't say I was ever really good. It was always something I enjoyed to do. And then, your life gets busy, right? I was always a musician. I always played music, but I even stopped that. And then life gets busy. And one day I was at work and I was thinking about how I would like to have a more creative life. It didn't mean art. It meant I would like to live creatively. I'd like to solve problems creatively. You know, I wanted to be more out of the box.
Yeah.
So I got a copy of The Artist's Way.
Oh, yeah.
And I started doing the exercises in The Artist's Way.
Mm-hmm.
And that just changed my life, honestly.
Oh,
Changed my life.
I've heard so many people say that.
Yeah. So I just started doing the exercises and things. I think it's just your eyes open. You begin to see that there are miracles. I call them daily miracles. It could be seeing a crow with a red berry in its mouth. Or it could be seeing sparkles on the ground.
Yeah.
It could be anything, but these are little miracles that are handed to us. And we've got to start opening our eyes to them to see them. But once you open your eyes, you see them all the time. They happen. And then you start opening your eyes to the coincidences that happen. And you know, like people in business might call it networking, but we just call it those happy accidents.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to open yourself to the possibilities around you. And as you do that, your life gets abundantly creative.
Oh, you give me chills just thinking.
So I'll tell you, I had just made a decision at that time, as I was reading this book, that I wanted to be known as a quilter, internationally known. I made that decision.
Internationally known, not just I want a quilt.
No. And listen to this, because this is outrageous. I receive in the mail an envelope, and the envelope has no return address. And it says on it, it has a show that is going to happen in New England on quilts with a sense of humor. And in red letters, it is circled and it says, I think Elijah would be good for this. No one signed it.
Elijah?
I have a quilt about Elijah.
Oh, okay. I'm like, who's Elijah?
The prophet Elijah. I have a quilt about the prophet Elijah.
Okay.
In Judaism, we believe that at Passover, the prophet Elijah comes to drink a little sip of wine at every Jewish table.
Okay.
And I thought one year, well, if that was true, what would Elijah look like at the end of the evening? Like, he would just be plastered. So I made a quilt about Elijah being plastered and just so drunk. And so they thought, whoever it is, they didn't sign it. And so I called a photographer at the time. I had it photographed. I wasn't even finished. I finished it quickly. I sent it off and it was accepted at the New England Quilt Museum.
Oh, well, I know that. That's up the road.
Yeah. So that started to happen to me.
Right.
The more I opened myself up, the more things started to happen.
Yeah. You put the intention out there, you like put the energy out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So I think I when I started quilting, I remember when I started creating my own quilts, it was so scary. I sat down with a blank piece of paper and I stared at it and I stared at it for about 2 hours. My husband came in. What are you doing? I'm working. I was so afraid to draw anything on a piece of paper. But as you draw one line, the second line becomes easier. Right. And now I can design a quilt in an hour. You know, it's a very easy thing because I do it all the time. Right. I create every day. So that is very, very key. Whether it is big or small, you have to create every day.
Let's come back to that because we've talked about that before, and I would like to return to it, but I want to just get like this timeline. Like, how old were your kids? Where were you in your career when you suddenly decided I'm going to be an internationally known quilter?
Well, that was 1998.
Okay.
So my kids were 10. I was working in my kitchen.
Yep.
Like I didn't have a studio, an art studio. I'm working on the table in my kitchen.
Yeah.
And the one rule in the house is don't get mom's quilts dirty. You could
Okay.
do anything. You can break anything, but don't get one's quilts dirty. So,
Mm.
but you get to a point where you say that you have to divide your time
Mm.
by minutes, not by quarter hours. So
Minute.
if I was minutes, so if I was making dinner and I knew it took 4 minutes for something to boil, well, I could sew a button on in 4 minutes, or I could, do a little hem in 4 minutes. So if you don't divide your time by quarter hours, because
Yeah.
like quarter hours is a big bunch of time when you've got 2 kids, 2 dogs, 2 cats, 2 horses, a husband, you have to manage all that. But
Yeah.
three
Wow.
or four 3 or 4 minutes
Minutes.
is
Most
easy.
most people think they need a whole afternoon, right?
Yeah,
Or a whole day, or even, 2 hours to even get going. But no, you say minutes.
minutes. So you say, what can I do in 3 minutes?
And also the stuff's right there in your kitchen. You're not
Right there
going
in my kitchen.
upstairs, downstairs.
And at the beginning, all my work was done by hand because I couldn't necessarily get my big sewing machine on my table. And
Yeah.
so I did everything by hand
Oh,
at the beginning.
interesting. So you just took tiny pockets of opportunities wherever you could.
Right.
That's really interesting. And
Yeah.
and so when did you move on from quilting? Like, because I
Whew.
know now you have a ton of interest. Was that a gradual, just add one thing, add another thing?
I think it's a part of it is your friends. For example, I
Mm.
had a friend who was into calligraphy,
Okay.
and the calligraphers are really into bookbinding.
Yes.
So she took me on a couple of bookbinding retreats, and that started me. But I
Yeah.
didn't do a lot because you have to get supplies. And we actually made an agreement. This is really an interesting thing. We
Mm.
decided to share studios. She wanted to be a quilter. So I said, you can have any fabric from my studio.
Yeah.
And she said, you can have any paper from mine. So that way we didn't have to go out and buy stuff. We just could
Well,
share each other's studios.
I want friends like that. Good
I
grief.
know, really good
Right?
friends. So I
Wow.
started bookbinding and a little bit of calligraphy. And then, of course,
Yeah.
and on my journey of saying that I had to make art every day, I
Yes.
started painting
Okay.
because and drawing. That was something easy. I could do it
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
And then it just, like, I'm just interested in everything.
Right. But
It's,
have you ever felt that, like, well, I have to stop quilting now so that I can focus on painting, or I got to
yeah.
narrow my focus, sell all my supplies, and just focus on this one thing, or no?
No, I do it the other way. I say, I'm so excited about bookbinding that my quilting just falls away. But I
Hmm.
don't get mad at myself because I know I'll come back to everything eventually. And I'll be able to incorporate what I learned in my quilting. Like my shirt has sewing on it, it has writing on it, it has painting on it.
Yeah.
I can incorporate everything into what I do.
Yeah.
I've put, like, if I don't like the fabric on a quilt, I'll paint it.
Mm, yeah.
Oh, this color's wrong. I better paint this off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can take what I've learned, or I could add beads because I love to bead too.
Yeah.
So you can use whatever you have in another thing. And I don't get mad at myself. I don't say, Ricki, you built a quilting studio and now you're into paper and there's no place for paper.
Right. Yeah.
I just say I'm moving on and I'll come back to it or not. It
I
doesn't
think,
matter.
I think a lot of people beat themselves up, though, thinking that I've got all this time, money, and energy invested in this one medium or this one practice. I
Yeah.
can't. And if they look elsewhere, they feel bad about that, and
Yeah.
perhaps stifle some of their creativity because they think, no, I've put a stake in the ground. I'm a
Right.
quilter and I must
Right.
stick with this. So
Right. I
like,
just say I'm a Renaissance woman.
you are.
I,
You are a
I can do
Renaissance woman.
anything, and I allow myself to enjoy it. To just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I am learning always. I am always taking classes. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always learning new things. I actually have a life rule that says I have to learn something new every 5 years. I have to master
Oh,
something.
tell me about that.
And you know what? It's been okay. I started harp at 50. Quilting was one of the things I started at 45. I took computer programming. I have a degree in computer programming. It was
Of
one
course
of
you
the
do.
things I learned. Yeah.
Of course you
And
do.
now my latest one, I'm just about to start. I'm going to learn sign language.
Ooh,
So that's,
ASL.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So
okay. Wow.
you, I just think it's important to keep
Yeah.
your brain active to learning new things,
Yeah.
you know.
So they don't, so it
That
doesn't actually have to be an art medium. It can just be something creative because ASL is very creative. Obviously, harp is a musical instrument. Computer programming, I think, can also be creative.
right.
So, wow, you are
Well,
something else.
again, what else did I take? I took stained glass.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what
So,
whatever you take.
but and the thing is, when you say, "Oh, I learn something new every 5 years," you're not saying you took a weekend workshop
No,
in this. You get a degree, or
right.
you like your harp. I know, for example, you've been practicing like
Right.
regularly.
I actually played one concert as a sub harp with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra.
Good grief!
Yeah. So
Wow,
so no, I have to master
you
something
have to
every five
master it,
years.
not just a
Yeah.
class. Wow,
Right.
that's
Something.
really inspiring.
Well, I think it's important
I
to
do too.
keep your brain active, right?
Yeah, yeah. But back to this creating every day, how does that fit into having a high powered banking career and kids and a home and animals? How does
Right.
that work?
So originally, when I made myself, I called it a line a day. I have to draw a line a day.
A line a
So,
day. Okay.
but I was intimidated by drawing. I'm not a good drawer. And that is something I said in my quilting. You have to forgive yourself for not being good at something. You are going to be as good as you are. You're going to go from where you are to where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be great when you start, and maybe you'll never be great. So just enjoy the process.
Right.
So I said I wanted to draw a line a day, but I was intimidated.
Yeah.
So I started off with 2-inch squares. I brought it over here to show it to you because everyone can do this. I made myself a little diary
Mm-hmm.
and I made 2-inch squares of the
Okay.
month.
Yep.
And every day I had to draw in what happened that day. It
Oh.
looks like on the 4th, I bought shoes, I would imagine. and maybe on the 8th, I saw a dog.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
that. On the 14th, it looks like I was knitting, and I
Yep.
got some flowers on the 13th. So
Yeah.
every day, I would just draw something, and 2 inches takes no
2 inch.
time
Yeah.
to do, and it's not intimidating. So you say, I could draw. Anyone can draw 2 inches. Anyone
Ooh.
can fill a square. And
Yeah.
then over time, 2 inches becomes too small.
Okay.
And you could even see in that little diary, I started going into two days because
Mhm.
2 inches was too small. So
Yeah.
then I went to 4 inches.
Yeah.
And I just started making that bigger. And I decided that it was important. I was a banker, and in banking, you learn if you want to save money, you've got to pay yourself first, right? You
Yes.
you put money aside for your vacation. You put money aside for your investments, and that is before you buy your groceries. That is
Mm-hmm.
before you buy your gas. That's paying yourself first for the
Yeah.
things you want to do. So I thought time was the same sort of thing, that I would set my time for myself before anything. So imagine I come home after a hard day's work and it's now 5 or 6 o'clock. And before I feed my family, I say, stop, because I have an hour to myself. And don't talk to me. Don't tell me about your day. You could talk to me at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock. My first hour when I get home is mine.
Wow.
So, so I made that rule that I had to always pay myself first.
Oh,
In a
do you know,
creative,
that makes me so happy that you did it after work because I just thought, a lot of people were like, I got up at 4 a.m. to make this a priority. And I always feel like so inadequate when that
no,
happens.
no.
So you came
I
home
just
from work.
felt, yeah, if my kids were hungry enough, they'd feed themselves. Honestly, everyone can wait.
I love that though. Pay yourself first. I
Yeah.
I feel like I have no tattoos on my body, but I feel like if I ever were to get something tattooed, that would probably be like the thing that I want to remember forever. Pay yourself
And
first.
you don't have to be creating every minute. Pay yourself first might mean go to a museum,
Yes,
go
it
for
might.
a walk,
Yeah.
take a hot bath, listen
Mhm.
to Chopin etudes. It could be anything.
Yeah, it
Play
could.
the piano, but
Yeah.
give yourself some time because we're mothers, sisters, daughters, wives,
Mhm. Yeah.
we are
Blah blah blah.
caregivers.
Yeah.
And we need to have some time in our lives where we're just there for ourselves.
And to replenish what,
Right.
because we spend all our time sort of giving and putting others first. But yeah.
Right.
Oh, I love that. Pay yourself first. Okay,
And
so sorry, go ahead.
and another thing I found, and maybe this is because I have daughters, but I found that if I involve my daughters in the things that I loved, then I got to do them more, right?
Oh.
so
Hmm.
so I have a daughter who is a graduate from U of C in art and new media. She is much more of an artist than I am, but I think it's because I wanted to do this art. And
Oh, really?
I needed some buddies.
So really, she would have been like, I don't know, a biologist, but
Yeah.
theater. Oh, that's
So
great. That's great. So you were paying yourself first. You were taking, you were creative every day. You did you're trying all these different media. You're learning. What happened when your banking career ended? Because I know that you're retired, and like, how did that change your relationship to your creativity when you didn't have to squeeze it in?
it was so funny because it actually worked backwards. I had just found that my job was getting in the way of my creativity. Like
Oh.
I was beginning to resent going to work because I didn't have time to do the things I wanted to do. And
Mhm.
honestly, if I stopped today having ideas, if some thunderbolt struck me and said, you will not have an idea for a new project any day forward, I would still have enough art to make until I die because like I have so many ideas of things I want to do.
Yeah.
So one day I just said,
Yeah.
I was 60 and I said, it's time. I don't want to wait till I'm 65. I
Mhm.
just want to, I've had a big career. I've had a great career, but it's time to make art. And
Nice.
my kids were really worried because I had a big job. Like a treasurer of a bank is a very big
Yeah.
job. I
Yeah.
was on the board of the Canadian Payments Association. Like
Mm.
it
Yeah.
was up there. It was
Yeah. A lot of
responsible.
pressure. Yeah.
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 And they thought that I defined myself as a treasurer,
Oh,
as a banker.
interesting.
And so they
Interesting.
were worried that
Yeah.
when I retired, I
Mm.
wouldn't have any definition. But no, I was off and creating. My first project I decided was to make a quilt for all my nieces and nephews, all the kids, everyone I never had time to make a quilt for. And I think
Oh.
I made like 14 quilts in a year.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Outrageous. I bought a quilting, a long arm machine. And I set myself through
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
But I started painting more. I started discovering more. And anyone who said, hey, let's try this. Oh, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
try
I'll
that.
try that.
Yeah. And that's where I am today. I mean,
Yeah.
I love being part of the Handmade Book Club because it's every month. Hey, I'll try that. And
Yeah,
then
I'll do that. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
am I going to put inside that book? For me, it's
Yeah.
like a partnership between the book and the art that goes inside of it.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah.
I'm always trying new things. Now
Yeah.
I'm taking a class on using a jelly plate.
Nice.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and I've learned so much. It's just
Yeah.
so I might jelly plate my shirt after
Yeah,
we
you might.
finish.
Exactly. So yeah, well, why don't we get back to now? What projects do you have on now, and what's exciting you now? Like, what are you foresee in the next 6 months of the year, for example? Like,
Yeah. So I just finished a really fun project. I have a friend. Actually, his wife was one of my best friends, and she died at 55. It was very sad.
Right.
And he's given his house to his kids. And he's built this little grandfather suite over his garage, 500 square feet. He's living in 500 square feet. And he's a guy, you imagine it is gray and black and white and brown. I mean, it is all masculine. But he loves maps. And I thought I would make a quilt that was a kind of a very modern, abstract quilt of Edmonton. And have his little house right on the quilt, but it's very abstract. So that was for me, like when I design something, I usually do a very detailed design of what I'm going to make.
Okay.
Eventually, as I start working on it, it says what it wants to be. First, I say what I want it to be, but then it says, no, I don't want this. And you have to listen to your art. You have to listen to what it wants to be. So this one was not talking to me at all. And I said, all right, I'm just going to let go and let that process. I put the river in because I figured that would define Edmonton. There's a North Saskatchewan River, and I'll let it go and see what happens. And it turned out great. It was just fabulous. So
it's finished? It's
finished. I gave it to him. It's lovely.
Oh, he must be thrilled.
Really happy. Yeah. And then the next one, I have my nephew and niece just got married, and they originally wanted me to make a signature book.
Yep.
Which is just up my alley.
Yeah.
But then she said, I want to see it every day. I don't want to take it off a shelf. I want to be able to see it. So I said, well, what if we make a signature quilt? So I before I went to the wedding, I made 150 leaves, and all the guests signed the leaves. And now somehow I'm going to incorporate these leaves onto a quilt, maybe a tree. Yeah. And I said, send me a wedding photograph, and I'm going to have them maybe under the tree. Oh, this is not even drawn yet, but it's in my mind.
It's still being birthed, and it's going to tell you how it wants to be.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
So I have that. I have
one quick question. The leaf, fabric leaves, I'm guessing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So all different colors, greens and reds and whatever. Oh, and we'll see what that becomes.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it out there. It will decide.
I love that.
And I was thinking, if she sends me pictures of some of the people at the wedding, then if I print them in sepia, then I could put them in the bark of the tree. Just all their faces, in the bark of the tree. So I'm just
percolating.
Yeah. Eventually it'll say, make me today, and I'll start. Yeah.
I like it. It's interesting though that you always have, it sounds like often your art projects have someone in mind. Like, you have a particular project in mind for this person or your nieces and nephews. Like, do you feel like that's always the case, or sometimes you just do it for you because you need to say something?
Yeah, sometimes I just start and do it. Yeah. I have a lot of stuff in my house that is just for me, right?
Yeah.
And it's sometimes, for example, when I got the long arm, I decided I wanted to learn the long arm, and so I did a whole bunch of whole cloth quilts, just where you're drawing with the sewing machine.
Okay.
They don't have hardly any color on them. They're white, and you just draw on them. And they're beautiful. Yeah. And I just decide, I love Alice. I think I'll do Alice in Wonderland today, or I like this. I'll do that.
Oh my God.
And sometimes I just sit down. I really would like to have my art become more abstract. And so that's what I'm working towards, is more abstract art. Yeah. I have a canvas that's 3 feet by 3 feet. It's my goal to actually do something with it.
Okay. Just waiting to be.
It's just waiting. Yeah. So I set myself goals, but I really don't. I don't really plan too much, like
Really?
maybe
Yeah.
I'll do the June book and I'll
Yeah.
say, well, what is it going to be? And
Yeah.
I'll be walking by my dogs and I'll say, oh, they're so cute. Maybe I'll put the dogs in. And now I'll start thinking about dogs and do I want
Mm,
to draw it? Do I want to have pictures? I kind
mm.
of grab ideas from the air.
Yeah.
Um,
I love
I
that.
was thinking about shadows a lot.
Yeah.
And at first I was thinking of doing, maybe a book just only of shadows.
Ooh, that
But
sounds.
now I'm thinking, what if you had a person, just a generic person, and the shadows were on them?
Mm, yeah.
Maybe I have a shadow of the iron because I'm ironing, or a shadow of the dog is on me, or
Yeah.
maybe I'm holding a coffee bean and the shadow is of a coffee cup.
Yeah. Wow.
So I've started to think about shadows and veils, and that'll
Where
become
do you
something.
capture these ideas? Because it's you have so many that where do they go while they're waiting to be birthed?
They just sit there. They
In
just
here?
sit there. Yeah.
You don't have like a journal or a book where you just jot
No,
them down? Oh
no. I
boy.
honestly have so many.
A whiteboard,
if,
maybe?
if I jotted them down, they'd become a to-do list, and I don't need a
Oh,
to-do list.
that's true, though, actually. Yeah, that's true.
I just want to have fun.
But I bet you
Like I
don't
wake up
sleep.
in the morning and say, what am I going to do to have fun today? What will make me happy? What will give me joy? What will spark
Oh,
energy? And
that's a
and then I
great
do
way
it.
to live. That's a
Yeah.
great way to live. Wake up every day. What's going to bring me joy today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
So
if you're
that,
not an artist or a creative person, well, I think everyone's creative actually. For anyone to say that, what's going to bring me joy today?
yeah,
Just, yeah, what a
it's a
great way
it,
to live.
I know. And I know I'm blessed. I
Hmm.
know I'm blessed that I have the time and the energy, and
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
that's blessed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but we have to use it too, right? We
Yeah,
can't
we do.
squander it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What as I say, any book project that you're working on that you're excited about? Is that the
Well,
shadows or what? Oh no.
I've got the June and July one to do. And
Why
so
though? You
those,
don't have to do them, but they're not. They're not. It's not requirement to do the
oh,
book club
I want to.
projects.
I
Okay, all
want to.
right.
I want to.
They are quite
So
nice
I
projects.
have a friend of my daughter's who is really into um making books, but she is just starting. So
Mm-hmm.
we have a date to do the June project.
Oh, nice.
And I think we're really going to, like, the cover will be very loose and flowing, and we'll have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
And just might fill the pages with what's ever on the cover too, just have
Why
fun
not?
with that.
Yeah.
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 So no, I don't have any
Yeah.
projects per se.
Yeah.
I just I
Lovely.
just start off, and they become projects.
How many do you have on the go at once? Or do you finish
One.
every project?
I finish every project.
Oh, you do not. Really?
I do. I do. I can't have more than one thing on
Oh,
the go
that's
at one time.
interesting. From the way
But
you're talking, I thought you might have multiple ones happening
no,
at the
because
same
it
time.
grabs me. When I start a project, what's going to be happening as 2 in the morning, I'm
Yeah,
going to be thinking, oh, why didn't I do that? And I'll get up and do it
I
because
bet you do.
I live alone.
I bet.
So the
Yeah,
time is fluid in my life. It
I
doesn't.
bet you. I can imagine you getting up at like 2 in the morning in your
Yeah.
jammies, put your slippers on, come down to
Yeah.
the basement.
Probably the next thing I'll do is do the back of this shirt because I'm really excited about the shirt.
Oh, is the back plain for now?
Yeah,
For
but
now,
it
yeah.
won't be by the end of the week.
Okay. Well, make sure you send me a picture when you
I will.
jelly print on it.
So, so yeah, I can work on a quilt at the
Mm,
same time as I'm learning something new on the piano, at the same time as
okay,
I'm doing a book, at the same time as I'm painting. But I will never work at two books at once.
gotcha. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I might get tired or stumped.
Hmm.
Sometimes you get stumped
Hmm.
and you have to say, okay, well, that's not working. Let's do something else.
Right. Okay.
And I do create all day.
Yeah.
So I'll just walk away and do something else. I love to cook.
Yeah.
So I love creating in the kitchen too.
Mhm.
That's just a really good thing to do.
So that makes me feel better though, because I thought you literally just finished one project and moved on to the next, and I have a hard time wrapping my head around. But it's in different mediums you're talking about.
Right.
You won't have 5 books on the go or 5 paintings.
No, I actually have 4 studios in my house.
I know.
So I can change places where I am. And actually my friends say I have 5 studios because they say the kitchen is a studio too for me. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, and sometimes, for example, when I started this shirt, I had no idea what I was going to do. So I said, okay, I'm going to spend 10 minutes on Pinterest. It's kind of like going to a museum. I looked up painted shirts and I didn't save anything. I just scroll. Give yourself 10 minutes to be in the museum.
Yeah.
This is just feeding yourself.
Yeah.
You don't want to spend all day there, but you do want to give yourself a boost, right?
Yes.
And then shut it down and go.
Nice.
And that's another important thing.
Okay.
I hardly watch TV.
You're a woman after my own heart.
Yeah. If you're going to ask me what's new on this show, I won't tell you.
No, I have no idea. I will actually like one thing every week or something. Yeah, I barely turn it on. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. And
that's interesting. What do you listen? Do you listen to music then when you're working, or books?
No, I listen to books. For me, music just stops me.
Okay.
I think it's like my first degree is in piano performance.
Yeah.
So for me, listening to music is active.
Okay. Gotcha.
And whereas listening to a book is passive.
Yeah.
So, but when I'm creating, I'm in silence.
Yeah.
If I'm sewing and I've already created a pattern, I can listen to something. Yeah. But if I'm creating a design, I'm in silence. I have to think.
Yeah. That's exactly how I work. Yeah. Silence when it's like I gotta design something, but then when I'm implementing something, I listen to books.
And that also gives you the time to listen to your art. If there's too much happening, how can you listen to it?
Yeah.
It does. I have a quilt that I made of Joseph in his coat of many colors.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my mind's eye. This is what I saw. Joseph is on a hill. He's looking out at all the sheep on the hill. And his coat blends with the hill, and then blends with the sky, and then blends with the sheep. So his coat becomes the background and the foreground. Now, what actually happened was, I can't do that. How do I do that? So I started off making a coat. Okay. And the coat was very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
But it was kind of faded, because Joseph's a shepherd. He's in the sun. He's in the desert, and it's fading. And then I thought, who would be jealous of that? No one would be jealous of that coat. So start again. Very, very bright coat. I'm just looking at him right now.
Yeah.
And beaded. And he's just like, and now the coat is so bright that I can't put him against any hill because you can't see it.
Yeah.
So he was put on a black background.
Okay.
And then it said, well, maybe this isn't about Joseph Coates. Maybe it's about all the dreams that Joseph had. So now I add a sun because the sun and the moon and the stars bowed down to him. And the whole quilt started going in a different direction. And it wasn't me. It was the quilt saying, no, you've got to, this is what I want to be. Scrap what you want to be. This is what I want to be.
So you had to have the silence, though, to listen to that and have the ideas develop. You couldn't have sort of the TV on and something playing in the background because you need to listen to it.
Right.
That's amazing. Oh, you're so inspiring. I want to be you when I grow up, please, Ricki.
Oh, I want to be you.
So I'm going to wrap this up. But what I want to know from you is, I didn't ask you this ahead of time. So but I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had to be on a desert island and you could only take one tool and one supply with you, what would you take, do you think?
Oh,
I know, because your studio is so full of stuff.
Well, if it was only one,
Yeah.
I might take an instrument, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, yeah.
Because the island would have sticks.
Yeah.
I could draw in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
I could create from the sand. I could create sculptures. I
Mm-hmm.
could draw. I could use the leaves. I could make chains. But how
Mm.
would I make music? I
Yeah.
would be singing. I might take
Mm.
an instrument. Maybe I'll take
Okay.
a guitar.
All
Or
right.
something I'd never played.
Exactly.
I learned how to play it.
You take, I don't know, a flute.
A violin.
Yeah, violin. And be there for 5 years while you master it.
Exactly.
Then you can
Exactly.
rescue me now.
Yeah, I'm
You're
ready.
funny.
I need a cello.
Oh, you're too funny. Oh, well, how about on that note, we leave it right there with Ricki on a desert island with a cello.
With the
So,
cello.
with a cello. Where can are you active on Instagram, Ricki? Is that where
Yes, I
folks can
am
find you?
active. Yeah, I think
Okay.
there's a link I've
Yep.
sent you.
Yep.
I'm
I've popped
active
it
on
right there.
Facebook. You'll see
Okay.
all the things I cook.
Oh,
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I popped on the screen. If folks want to connect with Ricki, they can find her Instagram, Ricki Golick, or like you say, on Facebook. And so, thank you so much for
Ali, thank
sharing
you for having me.
your sort of you, all about your creativity and your wisdom with us. Because every time I talk to you, I feel so inspired and like ready to just basically retire and just create all day. But
You can't retire because we will miss you.
I know I
We
can't.
won't let you.
All right. I will catch you soon. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Ricki.
thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.